To the unheard, this is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
You are listening to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning.
July 2025. I want to believe it is a lovely Tuesday on the other side of the radio. I mean, you have the opportunity to at least rest a bit in honor of the late ex-president in person of Muhammadu Buhari, which the presidency-led administration Bola Ahmed Tinubu had declared a holiday today. So happy holiday to you, and of course, in remembrance or in honoring the late ex and former president Muhammadu Buhari, who died in London on Monday. So you're welcome to Trends in the Papers, because it's still Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. This is where we pay much attention to what is going on in our dailies, to pay attention and peruse the pages of our newspapers. So while you're enjoying yourself at home or wherever you are, and for essential workers that you have to be at work regardless of the holiday, we still, as much as possible, take it upon our shoulders to bring you abreast and to keep you updated, bring you up to speed as regards updated stories, developing stories, news stories that we have in the pages of our newspapers this morning. So you're welcome on board. My name is Dᴏɪᴜ L쏘ᴅɪ, and of course quite a number of things actually happening in Nigeria, like in the words of someone saying that Nigeria is going through a lot, as we have the passing on of monarchs. Even got reports of a monarch passing on in Kwara State, and also that of the Awujale in Ijebu-land, the Awujale of Ijebu-land, and also the ex-former president. A whole lot actually going on with the several sides, several stories people are cooking up about the demise. But with whatever it is, we'll just bring what we have in our pages to just let you know what's going on, as what it is, trends in the papers. We'll let you know what's trending in our papers this morning. So welcome once again. And let's not forget, yes, you can definitely be part of the conversation. Enjoy an audiovisual experience this morning via Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. So just go to Facebook or YouTube, and then you search for Mainland 98.3 FM. You'll be able to join us live as we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. You can also be part of this conversation via Radio Garden and as well as our website. So very much, yes, available for you to join the community, the social media community, right on Twitter, even on TikTok at Mainland 98.3 FM, on Twitter at Mainland FM. You can as well as follow us there, and then you definitely get to see what's going on in the Twitter space. So you're welcome on board once again. Get some rest before work tomorrow once again. Side Forward will be joining us over the phone, as always, to give perspectives, to analyze the issues we're going to be bringing on board this morning, as always. So, and definitely after Trends in the Papers, will also be time for you to be part of the conversation regarding any of the focus of the day, either one or two issues we'll bring on board later on after now. Hello, good morning, Side Forward.
Good morning, Lady Mo. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Good morning. How are you doing too?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm good. Very quiet out here. The public holiday.
The road is quite free.
Yeah, another day of rest for Nigerians.
Well, Side Forward. Another day of rest for Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian, Side Forward. I'm a Nigerian.
We chose this profession, so
right.
We just have to live by what it brings, so. And we have to find a way to continue to enjoy it. So, what can we do?
What can we do? But I'm sure now. I'm sure you're a sure person. You make it enjoyable for us now. As we are. Am I
the federal government?
Abba, Yeah. let me.
I'm not the federal government.
You are not the federal government. You are our federal government. In case you don't know.
Okay, I hear you.
So it is what it is. Anyways, you're welcome, Side Forward, to Trends in the Papers.
Thank you.
On Mela 98.3 FM. And I actually was wowed when I was going through some tweets on Twitter about President Muhammadu Buhari. I really don't want us to make it a conversation, but then let's start from there anyway. The Punch newspaper is giving an update. You know what I'm talking about, Side Forward, about the JᴏɪR of Sudan. Okay. Dara Kingsman, an associate, reflects on Buhari's final month. The Punch newspaper has that very story right on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And of course, Buhari, who's aged 82, he died in a London hospital on Sunday and definitely will be laid to rest at his compound in Dara, Katsina State today. Though it was earlier scheduled yesterday, but it has been rescheduled to today, closing the chapter of a life marked by service, humility, and compassion. And as the bearer of the late former president, Muhammadu Buhari, will be holding today insight from his kinsmen, domestic workers, neighbors, and even close associates, revealing how he spent his last 2 years at his Dara country home after leaving office. And before the burial, however, some of his staff members said that Buhari was well known for his compassion towards animals, especially he spared some of his domestic staff, revealing that the former president cherished 3 tortoises aged 28 and 30, alongside with a great bird that frequently visited them. And they actually were narrating his special bond with the animals becoming evident during his last years at home, bringing him joy and comfort, because he had definitely been in his his retirement. After his retirement in Dara, he had continued to surround himself with domestic workers who offered him companionship and support. And the presence of trusted workers is the loneliness he felt after his presidency, after the administration. And domestic workers said that he has remained warm and approachable long before his political career, basically just narrating his last days. And today, of course, President Bola Tinubu had declared holiday and also public holiday and also 7 days of national mourning, during which the flags also will be flying at half-mast nationwide and at the Nigerian missions abroad. So I don't want to go on and on and on and on with the last time he had with Muhammadu Buhari, saying that they were admitted in the same hospital in London, UK, as UK with former President Muhammadu Buhari. And reports had emerged days ago that Abubakar and Buhari were battling undisclosed ailments worsened by hospital, but he was discharged. And he said when he heard the news of the passing away, that he quickly went there to condole the family and see what he can also be done in order to get the corpse ready to be taken home. Side forward, any
the final burial, retirement of former President Muhammadu Buhari today. I think from what we've gathered so far, he will be buried today. Again, according to Islamic rites, ordinarily by yesterday should have been buried, just like Yᴏᴜᴛᴜ was in charge yesterday. But again, I'm sure logistics, movement, the fact that he didn't die in Nigeria meant that you're going to have 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 days of delay. But I think from what we've gathered so far, statements from family members, official statements from government, I think it will be buried today. But it still gives us the opportunity. A lot comes to mind, really. A lot comes to mind, especially when you now begin to juxtapose, you begin to compare when he came in as head of state in the early 80s, and what he was eventually able to bring to the table as the president, civilian president, in 2015 to 2023, the 8 years of the Buhari government as civilian president. For those of us who were, when he was the head of state in the early 80s, we grew up to we're not too young to know that there was what was called the war against indiscipline. You know, the democratically elected government of Shehu Shagari had been overthrown by the Buhari junta. And the story then was that, look, and several politicians have started, although the corruption of that time they play, if you compare to what we have now, but it was also a period where the military junta at that time felt that, look, there was a need to reset the country aright. And so that Shagari government was overthrown, which brought about the Buhari military junta. And everybody who was an adult during that period, we were still very, very young, said that, look, it was not a joke. He was whipping people back to life to understand that, look, corruption was going to be completely, dealt with. There was intolerance to public nuisance, public misbehavior. If you were to queue, you must queue. You know, it was also zero tolerance to drug trafficking. I think at that time, the decree was that, look, once you traffic drug, you'll be killed. As the country arrived in terms of how we're supposed to behave. My mom, for example, would tell me that, it was a period that we missed to set the country aright, that these guys were already putting us in the proper way to behave as a people, only for another man to come. We will not go into that one. And the rest is history today. You know, they were also overthrown before they were able to really, fulfill some of these things, before the Babangida military junta came up, I think in 1985. And there are 8 years of the Babangida regime. Because that's 8 years. That 8 years of Nigerians knew before they decided to vote for him in 2015, I remember that, look, this was a man that had been making attempts. 3 times he had made an attempt to rule the country. But because of his limitations to be able to really spread his support down to this eventually produced him in 2015. And at that point in 2015, if you remember, Nigerians were so convinced about the capacity of Buhari they knew in the 80s. To come and clean the country of the mess of corruption, for example, especially corruption, which had been a major challenge for the Jonathan government. And so it got to the point where everybody just wanted a change. They just wanted the change, and it was a Buhari on the ticket of the merger at that time, the APC. A new sheriff was to come and clean the mess that had bedeviled the country at that time. But the 8 years of the Buhari regime, I think, must have disappointed a lot of Nigerians and a lot of believers in it. And so that's why Yushin was in the 80s, but his body could no longer carry his ideas. You know, it's one thing to have an intention to do good. It's another thing to have the capacity physically to be able to push through your ideas. And so while it is still affirmed today, the fact today, that Buhari died incorruptible, there's no trace or blemish when it comes to corruption on him. But you had a situation where he was never in control, not totally in control of his government. So again, would have enough time, because I know that there are other stories to consider this point.
Just quickly, there's some other angles to this very issue. I just want to bring in together so that we don't discuss in isolation. The Guardian is giving an angle to this issue as well. And I also bring in that of the monarch in Ijebu land. But before then, the Buhari angle, the Guardian angle of that is about the National Assembly's decision to suspend legislative activities for 1 week in honor of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, which had actually been drawn with criticism from stakeholders. They are accusing the lawmakers of exploiting the tragedy for their personal convenience. According to Ozekome, to be specific, a senior advocate, SAN, yes, he was saying that while it was appropriate to honor the former president, who also served as the military head of state from 1983 to 1985, dedicating an entire week of legislative inactivity, what did well for himself, but at the time of grinding poverty, rising insecurity, and public despair, shutting down all legislative activity for a whole week is unreasonable. And he also questioned the impact of such a decision, particularly as both the plenary and the committee sessions in the Senate and the House of Rep were suspended under the directive of the Senate president. And he also lamented the symbolism of Buhari dying in a foreign country. That also had also been a debate, talking point and debate focus over the time in a foreign country, despite efforts during his presidency to upgrade the local healthcare infrastructure and all of that. That's to one side. And also that of the monarch, yes, Awujale of Ijebu-land. The Punch is capturing that soldiers yesterday barred traditionalists believed to be members of the Oshogbo cult from the Muslim funeral held for the late Awujale of Ijebu-land. That's Oba Sikiru Adetono. May so continue to rest in peace. And the presence of the cult members at the funeral had caused some apprehension, but people around began shouting at them while soldiers took control of the situation and escorted the traditionalists out of the royal father's residence. Now, of course, the remains of the monarch were later interred at his Ijebu-Ode private residence around 6 p.m. on Monday, according to Islamic rites. Because of our time, just react quickly to the two issues.
If there's anyone I need, just remind me as we go on this analysis. So, Michael Zekomes here, spot on from the well-respected legal luminary. And what he's saying, Lady Mo, is that this idea by the National Assembly to shut down the National Assembly for 1 week is an overkill. Are you with me?
Yes.
That Kilode, and according to him, these are guys, these are people who don't even really respect some of the constitutional dictates of how many times they are supposed to sit in the National Assembly. Are you with me?
Yes, I am.
For example, constitutionally they are expected to sit for a minimum of 181 days in a year. They are an oversight function or constituency, whatever. They count this as part of the city. Lady Mo, it's very clear that you have to have a lot of times, even when the Senate or the House of Reps is on session, you find that a lot of the seats are empty. So because Buhari is dead, you have to suspend legislative duties for 1 week. That's what Michael Zekomes is questioning, the veracity of that. And like Yorubas will say, you have me to interpret. When they say Obu, what does that mean?
You help me out. Any talk power.
You don't know how to interpret that. Maybe any of the listeners will help you. Obu.
Yes, now. You
don't understand that.
Yes.
So, it's just unfortunate again that some of these things have come up again, and I think Michael Zekomes here is spot on for saying that look, that overkill it's completely unnecessary. Yes, you can find a way to honor the president. Oh, maybe 1 minute silence, fly the flag at half mast, have a special 2 days or 1 day off. It's enough. Not to just, in fact, there are people who are even questioning the idea of a public holiday. That why do we have to have a public holiday, for example? It does not necessarily mean that you have to shut down business. Declare everybody should go and sit back at home. Look, there are ways you can, and I think the best way to honor someone who has the country is say, what does the person stand for? And whether it is enough for you to lead by whatever best way to honor anyone, especially a leader who has just passed on. In Nigeria, we are used to doing these things. A market leader will die, you shut down the entire market.
People will know it.
As if by shutting down the market, you make the person come back to life. The traditional ruler, the people of everybody went over there normal, they were even happy to go there to see his funeral. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Jᴏɪᴜ people will still do a big one. They will still throw the big party to honor the memory of the Awujale, of Sikiru Adetono, who has just passed on to the great beyond. They want to just give opportunity and excuse not to do anything for their own convenience. That's what he's saying. How do you shut down legislative duties for 1 week because the former president had died?
There is 7 days.
The federal government already declared a 1 day public holiday. That's not enough?
Part of the national mourning, 7 days national mourning. So 1 week.
Yes.
Maybe it's
For why 1 week? No, they can even mourn while still doing their legislation. They can mourn for 1 month. You understand?
right.
They can even mourn for 1 year if they want. But what we are saying is that, look, it does not make us close everything up for 1 week. It's an overkill. That's what they say. And then for the former head of state, Abdulsalam Abubakar, who had also said that, look, he was admitted in the same hospital with the now late former President Muhammadu Buhari, only for him to be discharged, and then was later told that Buhari had passed. And he had to quickly go back there to, help with logistics, commensurate with the family, and see how it could be of help. Lady Mo, a lot of questions have arisen from this idea. I look at, people have now decided to go and even check up this particular hospital, the London Clinic, I think that's the name of the hospital. A private hospital, extremely expensive according to reports. We've gotten so far about what it takes to have medical care in that facility. But the question is, can't we have the facility here in Nigeria?
That has been the question raised.
It's not ironical to see that at the same time, 2 of our former leaders were admitted in that hospital at the same time.
The fact that you were also president for 8 years and
the other one was very short anyway, just for a year or so, about 9 months or so, yes.
Unable to
but
have that standard hospital. And
until today, we still have, the question is it that we cannot create those facilities here? Is it a taboo to have those facilities here so that it's not just our leaders that will enjoy it? Other Nigerians who deserve that medical care. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Is it a taboo for us to have those? Is it that we can't have those kinds of facilities here? Is it about the technique, the medical, the know-how? Is it about the personnel, the expertise? Don't be surprised that when you go into that hospital now, you'll find that some of the doctors there are Nigerians. Some of the nurses there are Nigerians. You might even find that their major consultants are also Nigerians.
Of course, over the years, we've been getting, the applaud of Nigerian doctors from
Nigerian doctors, medical personnel,
performance over
with their great exploits out there. So why can't we have wouldn't it be a thing of motivation, a thing of joy, for example? Oh, they say, for Nigeria to be great, it begins with you. Can't our leaders also show that example? No, how would it sound, for example, Lady Mo, to hear that, oh, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, anytime he needs medical care, he takes it in Nigeria. There's a facility somewhere good enough medically in Nigeria to take care of our senators. But how does it feel? How do they also feel that for everything and anything when it comes to their medical care, they have to leave the country? To the point where at the same time, 2 of our former leaders were admitted in the same hospital in London at the same time. And then to the issue of the Oshogbo call in Jᴏɪᴜ, who were present to take over the funeral rites of the late Awujale. You see, there's still a conversation, especially in this Yoruba land, that we have not been able to properly address. The difference and the differences, if you permit me to say that, between culture and tradition. And the role or the roles of our traditional rulers when it comes to our culture and tradition. Generally, Yoruba traditional rulers are regarded as the custodians or the custodians of our what? Culture and tradition. And there's this ongoing debate about the Yoruba culture and tradition and paganism. Whether paganism in itself is part of our culture and tradition, or whether we should separate religion in the form of paganism from our culture and tradition. Because the question is always, when it comes to some aspect of our culture and tradition, especially when it comes to the idea of paganism, did you accept it? So if you accepted those things to become an Oba, would you also accept it when you are dying? Because they will say, oh, They go to a lady. There are some there that look, it's our own thing. We were part of the traditional right to bring him in. So now that he has gone, we also have to be a part of that tradition. We saw it with the alarm for you. But now they say soldiers stop them. Would we consider that as an insult to our culture and tradition? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What is it? Is there something about what is considered a part of our culture and tradition that the traditional rulers don't want, especially when they are dead? Or should they have stayed away from being traditional rulers if at the end of the day they would not want these guys to bury them? I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Actually, recalling that the traditionalists in the state had actually rejected the Oba and Chiefs law of 2021.
There was a law, yes.
Yes, which stipulated that traditional rulers could be buried according to their religious disposition. And of course, the traditionalists that opposed the provision of the law, arguing that to preserve the tradition, the royal fathers must be buried according to the established tradition.
Did their religion bring them in as traditional rulers? You don't understand. The right to ascend that, was it about their religion or about those traditional rights that they are no longer comfortable with in death?
Well,
you don't understand what I'm saying? Because
I do.
According to the report on the paper, it was said that the Awujale was also one of the people that facilitated that law. So you have always had it. I think there's even one over in Abeokuta, the very respected Oba too, that I think even has a church or in the palace or something.
Right.
You know, it's also one of the issues you're having with Yoluwo. Who will tell you that, look, paganism is not his own culture and tradition. And that for him, he's a Muslim. He wants to be known to be a Muslim. He will never be part of any paganism. While he respects their religion, he doesn't want it. Also, it's a raging battle. It's a big conversation in Yoruba land, particularly.
Right.
When it comes to what we consider as culture and tradition, and this idea of our own religion, which I like to call paganism, really.
Well,
Yoruba will argue that when it comes to culture and tradition, you have to talk about food, marriages, plans. You know, it's a conversation that maybe we'll have time to flesh it out. I'm sorry for listening to me understand what I'm saying. The Awujale was buried yesterday, and we wish all the people of Ijebu well. He lived a very good life for Lady Bo. 65 years on the throne.
On the throne, yeah.
Don't be my.
Okay, 7. Well. Saidfa, thank you very much. Of course, we'll dedicate time to actually have a discussion, especially on the
maybe on echoes of wisdom.
Yes, oh yeah, right.
We can talk about it.
Definitely. Let's elders.
Let's talk about
those
culture and tradition.
Over the years. Yes, that's true. Actually, yeah.
What has changed?
Yeah. What has changed? And definitely. Okay. Well, that very story. Let me quickly highlight in the front page of the Punch newspaper that Daura Kingston Associates reflect on Buhari's final month. That's on page 2 in the Punch newspaper. Soldiers bar traditionalists from Awujale's Muslim funeral. Page 27 captures that from the Punch, and also quickly the Guardian, just to highlight before we move ahead on Buhari getting state funeral at critiques. 4th National Assembly's week-long tribute. Page 6 captures that Buhari represented unity, equity, but not misunderstood. But was misunderstood, I beg your pardon. Page 4 captures that. And tied security in Darat as Katsina awaits Buhari's remains. Page 3 captures that from the Guardian newspaper. Still trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. And we have Said Fawad giving perspective to the trends, basically, we have in the papers, the issues we have in the papers this morning. My name is Mᴏᴜ Akínyẹ̀sọ́yè once again. Still with the Punch newspaper, Said Fawad, let's quickly go and take a quick trip to Punch. I said Punch newspaper. I already with Punch newspaper. A quick trip to Osun State. Now we're having the Basbos with the governor and the former governor. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke yesterday, took a swipe his predecessors in office. And of course, Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá was a governor between November 2010 to join him in the ADC, promising that the party would take over Osun in 2026. But in a statement that was signed by the spokesperson of the state, Olawale Rasheed, that the governor alleged that Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá had threatened to superintend how it would be voted out in August 8, 2026 governorship poll, accusing the former governor of leaving a governor cross-carpeting to the APC. But the back and forth of the present governor and the former governor Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá, who had of course gone to the ADC back and forth. Said Fuad, what's your take on that?
Well, we're not sure that the governor decided to defect to the APC. We're only seeing pictures. There are speculations here and there. Again, with this video meeting with the president, there's been a lot of talk about the possible defection of Governor Adeleke, dancing governor himself, to the APC. And it shouldn't come as a surprise if it happens. There's a lot that has happened in the political space at this moment. It's banter, or what you call the back and forth between himself and Ogbeni Rauf Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá, who is now the leader of the new coalition party, the ADC, in Osun State. We are also seeing pictures, we've seen videos of the official unveiling of the ADC in Osun State. And I think it was well attended. You had a lot of people, because whether you like it or not, as the former governor, he also has his own level of followership in the state. I'm talking of Ogbeni Rauf Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá now. So I'm sure in one of the statements he had made, he had said that, look, it's not just about 2027. In 2026, we are taking over the state. And I think that did not sit well with the PDP and Governor Adeleke, who in 2026 will be going for a second term. They worked together anyways, about 3 years ago, to deny Gboyega Oyetola of the APC a second term. You understand how, one of the reasons why Rauf Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá was expelled from the APC. For anti-party activities. But what it now means is that politically now, they become enemies. If it is true, because politicians they like to bobo us. But if it is true that suddenly they are no longer on the same page when it comes to the second term ambition of Adeleke, well, it means that the political battle has started. Adeleke is telling us that Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá had the worst. He was the worst of all the governors that have ruled Osun State. We can take a quick look at from 1999 till date. We have Baba Bisi Akande. We had Oyèlọ́lá after Baba Akande. After Oyèlọ́lá, we had Rauf Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá for 8 years. And you understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to help to ventilate any idea of a politician. Because if Adeleke is saying Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá was the worst of them all, this Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá's performance was completely dismal, terrible. Our salary, that's why they call him Babafusa. Yes, the idea of our salary. In fact, I think there was a name for it, modulated or something salary, where at every level of your employment, you are not even sure of your full salary. There was a name, very terrible name like that, to justify the idea of salary. The appointment, I don't know whether it exists again. They were giving student tablets. I don't know whether the tablets are still available again. But whether you like it or not, he must have had his own achap. Not because Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá did not do very well. I think it should be dependent on whether he has done very well with the opportunity they've also given to him. You understand what I'm saying? Because by now, Governor Adeleke should be telling us what he has been able to do. How many projects has he commissioned? For example, what has he done in the state? Clearly, we should be seeing it well documented and put before the people. Today when you talk about Governor Adeleke, the first thing that comes to your mind is the dancing governor. What comes to your mind? Tell me what comes to your mind when we talk about Governor Adeleke.
They might not be known. They might be.
I think you. Anytime you see Governor Adeleke, what comes to your mind?
Of course, the same thing that comes. The same thing that comes to everybody's mind.
Is that what?
Yeah.
He knows how to dance.
Anyway, speaking about political, still talking about in the political space rather, the Punch newspaper is giving us a report here on ADC and opposition coalition vowing to take over the ruling of Progressive Congress and Governor Obasanjo in 2027 election. That was during a press briefing in Kaduna. The leaders drawn from former members of the APC, PDP and Labour Party had vowed to build a formidable state and all of that. What do you envisage side forward in
nothing? Let the politicians sort that out. If they like, they should take over. Everybody can decide, can promise anything. The people will decide, hopefully, if we have a free, fair, credible election. So let the politicians will disturb you with these things. I will win, I will not win. You can't win. The emotions and sentiments. Look at what they are saying and take an informed decision when you are going to be voting in 2027 for this guy.
The Punch newspaper, page 29 to be precise. Also, quickly from the Punch, we're having Natasha fires back at Akpabio over reinstatement challenge. The lawmaker representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpabio, has dismissed the appeal filed by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, seeking to overturn to challenge the July 4 judgment delivered by Justice Binta Nyako, which had nullified Akpabio's 6-month suspension from the Red Chamber and declared it excessive and without legal basis. And so Akpabio is urging the appellate court to set aside the judgment on assembly matters which he contends are beyond judicial interference, that it should be a matter of in-house, it should be an in-house thing under section 251 of 1999 Constitution. And the Senate President had also faulted the court for dismissing his preliminary objection and issuing others affecting paramilitary procedures. And he also maintained that actions taken during plenary, including suspension, resolution, whatever it is, are protected by the legislative houses. That's the powers and privileges to exhaust the internal redress mechanisms of the Senate, particularly the Committee of Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, as stipulated in the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended. He went on and on and on, accusing the trial court of breaching his rights.
It's a very simple thing.
Yeah, right.
It's a very simple thing, because it's a case in court. We will not give an opinion on it. The Senate President, and I think the Senate, have now decided to appeal that judgment of to appeal is what you've read out. That look, it was an internal affair of the National Assembly, and that the court lacks jurisdiction, especially when it comes to the guiding rules of the House. Even though Justice Nyako had said that, look, yes, you have a right to your own legislative. What it now means is that Senator Natasha has to wait again to see through that appeal that has now been filed by the Senate President, I think the Senate. That's what the story tells us. And I think Natasha was at a function where journalists were trying to get her opinion. I guess she was not really just in the mood to talk. But we'll keep our eyes on this particular story and see what comes out of it.
All right. Page 30 captures that in the Punch newspaper, and in the Guardian, page 3 captures that very story. Natasha and the Akpabio. Quickly, the Guardian newspaper is capturing U.S. threatens visa validity defaulters with deportation and lifetime ban. Then the U.S. government had issued a severe warning to foreign nationals who overstay their visa validity. The embassy also cautioned that such action would lead to deportation, or could lead to deportation and a permanent ban from re-entering the country. Definitely, this was as the U.S. Embassy in Abuja and Consulate General, the late former president. But in a statement yesterday, the U.S. immigration authorities had reiterated their long-standing policy on the visa compliance, saying that if you remain in the U.S. beyond your authorized period of stay, you could be deported and even face the...
we know the play. If you come now, now that they have now said for Nigerians particularly, single entry 3 months. Yeah? It's not multiple entry again for visiting visa.
Yeah.
So it's just single entry and it's only valid for 3 months.
3 months.
So for those of so what they are saying is that if we catch you, we are not only going to deport you, we'll ban you from coming there again.
Right.
And this is the era where immigration has been the biggest issue in the West. You understand? Immigration, I think is the biggest topic now, one of the biggest topics in the West. And the Trump effect is sweeping through the Western world. So that's why you see that apart from the U.S. mentioning seriously, more like shifting the goalpost in the middle of a game. The rules are changing. A lot of them are not sure of their status as students or as immigrants, who had gone in through the Japa route. You understand what I'm saying? And in other parts of the world too, in France and in Europe, rules are getting tougher for people who want to live for greener pasture. So it's just what it is, really, just for people to pay attention to this thing.
Well, right. That also in the Punch newspaper. Quickly, the Vanguard is capturing here The statement credited to Wike telling Okpebholo not to probe Obaseki. Now, Wike had advised the governor of Edo State, Monday Okpebholo, against dissipating his energy and resources to probe his immediate predecessor, that's Godwin Obaseki, saying that was giving advice during his visit, which also actually was rescheduled. It was better for the governor to deploy his time and the state resources towards achieving his developmental goals for Edo State, and rather, dissipating the former governor. Any reaction to that?
Now, the current governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has said that he was going to be looking at the possibility of probing his immediate predecessor, that's former Governor Obaseki, because he feels that a lot was done, public funds are missing, and all of that. And then you have the FCT minister, who is also a former governor of the state, telling the governor not to bother himself, to waste resources to try to probe the governor. So the question we need to ask ourselves and ask the FCT minister is that this idea of, don't bother to probe this other guy, the immediate past governor, don't waste resources and time. Focus. Is it coming out of his not believing in the justice system, that the governor will not get anything out of that probe? Is it because he does not believe in the justice system, or he believes that, look, once the governor comes and he steals people's money, allegedly, he should not be touched? We have that pattern too in Nigeria. He's guilty of any, because it's still an allegation. But wouldn't it be nice for us to see that, look, whether you're a former governor or a former president, we have a system that can hold them to account when they leave office. So this idea of don't bother to probe, what does it say? Oh, do you know that tomorrow somebody can come in Rivers State, the governor, and decide that, look, all the last 3 governors of Rivers State, I want to probe them. Shouldn't we have a robust system that can hold people to account? Well, now they're saying, don't waste your time, because we already know that maybe in Nigeria, the law is only for the poor and less privileged. The rich people do anything they like and get away with it.
He's saying that even if anyone would have encouraged him to probe, that he should be the one to tell him to probe his predecessor and not. Is
it from Edo State? Why would he be the one to encourage him to probe Obaseki? Is it from Rivers? Is it from Edo State? If Governor Okpebholo has enough evidence that Governor Obaseki stole the people's money, we should encourage him to do that.
Well,
so that he too, Okpebholo, when he leaves and somebody else comes, he can also be held accountable. It's not a family matter now. It's not a personal issue. We are talking about the resources of the state, because now beef and problem. We are saying that when it comes to people's resources, there should be a system that holds them to account.
Right. Well, side forward, we need to go. Thank you very much. Just quickly, The Guardian also, gunmen killed 2 evangelists in fresh plateau attack. Very sad incident. Page 30 captures that from The Guardian. Calls for metering deregulation intensify as experts warn of widening gap. That's on the business page in the page 18 of The Guardian newspaper. And of course, part of the always broad reports from The Guardian is revealing that the pay TV back for Mainland Focus on Mainland 98.3 FM. I remain Mo Dukbe Akinyosoye. Good morning.